one day in the hotel, Bill Wilson, owner of Chevy dealership, he went to my hotel and knocked the door. And I was early in the morning. I said, "Hey, Bill, come on, come with me to my office." It was right in front. I went there. I said, "You're renting car every single week. You need a car, And he said, "Yes, I need a car." And I said, "Pick any car you want. Let's make a business. Let's do business." I didn't have any checking account yet. I like a car. He said it was the ugliest car there. Do you remember the Aztec? I like the Aztec, and nobody liked the Aztec. I think he was pushing to sell me the car that he cannot sell it a lot. But anyway, he said, "It's all yours." He called the president of the bank. The bank came at that time. It was Robert Strong and Rios Bank came. Checked my hands, and I signed some paper there, and I have a car.
Welcome to Gone to Texas, the official podcast of the Texas Economic Development Connection. On every episode, we share the stories of business owners and CEOs who have relocated or expanded their business into Texas. Our goal is to use these stories as a guide to help others who are ready to hang a sign on the door that says, "Gone to Texas." And now, please welcome your host, the Managing Partner and Chief Inspiration Officer for Day One Experts, Super Dave Quinn.
Welcome back to the Gone to Texas podcast, powered by Day One Experts, where we share real stories of business growth, relocation, and entrepreneurship here in the Lone Star State. I'm your host, Super Dave Quinn, and today's episode is sponsored by our friends at the Kilgore Economic Development Corporation, who are helping businesses grow and expand every day right here in the Upper East Texas region. In this episode of our Kilgore Spotlight series, we're talking to Ricardo, a local entrepreneur and community leader. Ricardo has built businesses here, invested in the community, and continues to choose Kilgore as home. His story is a powerful reminder that Kilgore's advantage isn't just about business. It's about culture, collaboration, and quality of life. All right, Ricardo, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Dave.
I appreciate you being here today. I've heard great things about you from Lisa and your history here in Kilgore. For our audience, set up really sort of your arrival in Kilgore all those years ago. Tell me how you got to Kilgore and what brought you here.
Well, what brought me here was moving a business from South America to United States. That started happening in 1999. And I was part owner of a business as a metallurgical company and machine shop. We used to design and manufacture orange squeezers for high-end restaurant or gourmet kitchens.
Okay.
And also cast iron pipe fittings for high-rise buildings. And there was a market mainly to supply products to New York, Chicago area. We were doing that from Venezuela, South America. And we hired a consultant, we want to move we want to open the second factory in the United States. We were doing very well in South America, in Europe, and the market was growing faster in United States. That consultant told us, "You got to go to Texas." And where to Texas, was a difficult part of the answer. Well, I was in charge of the site selection, and I visited 17 cities, and around U.S.
Okay.
Of these cities, 12 were in Texas.
Okay.
And the rest were mainly Oklahoma, Virginia, and Louisiana area.
Okay.
And then at the end, I concentrated only in Texas, and the last three were Waco, Texas, Belton, Texas, Kilgore, Texas.
Okay. That's some stiff competition. There's good towns.
Yeah. And then this process lasts a year and something. And we start manufacturing the facility. Moving the facility was in the year 2000.
Okay.
That's when I started moving. First, I moved to New York, Manhattan, because we have a distribution center in New Jersey, and I was flying every week.
Right.
Yeah, it was tough, But was a very different cultures, very different perspective of the United States. Yeah,
Right.
yeah. And well, we opened the facility in Kilgore, and then through the years, I decided to stay here.
Right.
Many things happen after.
So let's talk a little bit about that. I mean, what was some of the decision matrix when again, deciding to be in Kilgore versus the other states and then in the other cities here? What were some of the things that you kind of landed on and what made Kilgore kind of the spot?
Kilgore is a very business friendly environment, and visiting Kilgore, I met a very interesting group of people at that time. My Kilgore Economic Development Corporation organized all the meetings, and
Yeah.
I had the opportunity to meet Amanda Nobles, the now very close friend, and excellent group of people. They were part of the board members and a very successful entrepreneur with a great story, successful story. And that connect me with the city immediately. Beyond that, it's like any other city. When you do a site selection process, you take in consideration logistic, labor force,
Right.
and all that.
Standard matrix.
Even
yeah.
out, kind of similar situation.
Right.
And Texas, of course, there are some highlights in Kilgore, but the most important was, meeting such a successful people, so interesting stories, that welcoming, business friendly environment. That was the key.
Right. And you came at a challenging time in the country's history and all of that. What was it like operating a business? I mean, you're moving from Venezuela. I can imagine that it's a little bit different operating in Texas. What was that first experience of operating in Texas?
Yes, we opened a second facility. We kind of trying to implement the same methods that we have there, and there were kind of a lot of similarities, but the facility was more automatic here, But we found an incredible labor force here. We were very close with the KDC and the Kilgore College, and training our people.
Yeah.
And that helped me because at that time my English was really not the best English in the world. Still not. But
I barely speak it, so that's okay.
But that training, the basics of our industry, our goals,
right,
with our core team, and then we hire more and more people. And the beginning were tough, but then a year later we were moving in the right direction. We opened the facility in August 7, 2001.
Okay.
And a month after 9/11 happened. And immediately we have a big shock in the economy because
right,
our products were sold in high-end kitchen stores, or high-rise buildings,
right,
and that there were two of the industries that were very much affected at the 9/11.
Yeah.
And we struggled for a period of time, but we were able to maintain in business until 2005, that we sold the business to different companies.
Okay. So 2005, you have an exit. My guess is at that point you can go do whatever you want, wherever you want. Yeah, here we are 20 years later. You're still sitting in Kilgore, Texas. Tell me what went into that decision and why did you stick around?
Yeah. When we moved, my daughter was 3 years old, 4 years old. My son only 1 year old. 2005 they were already 7 and 5 years old. And,
right.
8 and 6. And my wife and I loved the area.
Okay.
And was even with the difficulties of that we were struggling economically because we had to sell the business and start from scratch again. We decided to stay. And we stayed in the community. We decided to build our family here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, we get that a lot. Entrepreneurs, they're looking at Texas. Usually it's because there's some hardship where they are. They've run into walls or it's something it's hard to grow. And when they come to Texas, I tell them that they still have to do a business,
Yeah.
but you're doing it in a much fertile sort of area. So it can still be hard, but at least you have partners like KDC or Kilgore College or folks who here want to help you. And then again, you were able to start from scratch and build again. So that says a lot about, because you could have started scratch from anywhere,
Yeah.
right? Like at that point, it seems like you were free. You could have gone and done, but you decided to make a family here.
At that moment, yeah, Kilgore was becoming my home, and the home for my family. And my wife and I started a small business, with a partner. It was a city trash bags business that we were selling trash bags to supermarkets
Right.
and around East Texas. And that helped us to go by, for a period of time. And then
Right.
I went back to work as engineer. And I went to work for General Dynamics, that is based in Kilgore and Longview, Texas
Uh-huh.
at that time. And worked for them. And was successful my stay there, and I started as engineer and then as a VP or director of operations of several facilities. The things start moving in the right direction. Yeah.
Right. You mentioned earlier a little bit about the people you met and the successful entrepreneurs. Talk a little bit about the importance of sort of the company you keep in that, finding other entrepreneurs and like-minded business people here in Kilgore. What has that meant for you as a, small business owner and an entrepreneur?
Well, you there are many things that connect you when you have a person. If you are an entrepreneur and you always want to create your own destiny and build your own business, meet people that have successful stories and know all these stories are, the best stories that everything went well.
Right.
And many of them were very encouraging, I'm glad that you stay here. Anything that you may need, we're here to support you. The same, Kilgore Economic Development Corporation was always very supportive. And I started thinking to build my new business.
Right.
And when I was at General Dynamics, many of them advised me about my plans. And I remember sitting down with Mr. Tom Mobley, that my plans, and he found that was a solid plan.
Right.
Now, when I was at GD, General Dynamics, I ran a business or division. There was a test equipment business that wasn't a core business for General Dynamics. And I presented to the president of General Dynamics that I want an interest in any time they consider to carve out or sell this business. I was interested in the opportunity to buy that business.
Right.
And that opportunity arose. And during the sequestration, that the government wasn't investing too much money in military and defense. The General Dynamics decided to concentrate it in defense.
Right.
And that business was for sale. And was not well known yet. That was for sale, and I negotiate with them, and buying the business. I partnered with a private equity group.
Okay.
And we bought that division, and we started a new business from scratch. It was like a kind of a startup.
Yeah.
Again, and we create Freedom Communication Technologies.
Today's episode is sponsored by our friends at Kilgore Economic Development Corporation. They're helping businesses grow in East Texas. Kilgore, Texas offers an operational advantage few markets can match, where location, labor, and low cost converge to drive profitability. With prime access to transportation routes, plus low taxes and competitive utility rates, companies choosing to locate here are positioned to outperform other corporate locations and competitors. Synergy Park, a Class A campus-style business park, offers scenic, shovel-ready sites, and Kilgore Economic Development Corporation delivers hands-on support, tailored incentives, and a resourceful, experienced workforce. For companies seeking scalable growth without gridlock, Kilgore offers a streamlined environment engineered for enterprise expansion. So that's, again, when I come back to small business owners and they're looking for a place, streets, water, sewer are fine, but it's the people of that community, and that's what you're looking for is, do I fit with that group? And Kilgore has done a phenomenal job of sort of creating this. I'm hearing it over and over again in the different podcast interviews of this sort of welcoming environment. And even though they might be almost maybe not direct competitors, but they're competing a little bit, it's still we're going to help you and you help us, and we share best practices, and from working with Kilgore College and the workforce coming together to identify training opportunities. Let's talk a little bit about that and your experience with Kilgore College. Was that a difficult experience, or how did you work with them to be able to help with your workforce?
Yeah, well, the experience during my first venture here was a fantastic experience. I remember I met a lady that was in charge of that part, and Martha Woodruff. Now the building of adult education had her name.
Okay.
Martha was an I design with Amanda Nobles what kind of training my team will need
Right.
for metallurgical and operating automated equipment,
Right.
CNC equipments, powder coating and assembling.
Right.
And we create like a training matrix, that everyone needs to go through that.
Yeah.
Part of that training was done at facility level. Part of that training was done at Kilgore College. And a part of the training was done by me or my team or some people,
Right.
of Kilgore. It was fantastic collaboration that lasted for 6 months. I'm jealous very much.
Right.
Then when I opened Freedom, was the same situation, and I think we developed some career path on some specific people with the Kilgore College, and they went there and helped us to train them.
Right.
We were doing some complicated RF signals that require some electronic.
Right.
And
not just any training. That's pretty specific. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And we received also full support from KDC, and we presented KDC the plan, and they gave us some incentives now for, start the business in Kilgore. Was
Right.
for me no-brainer because it was already here.
Right.
Knowing the people and all the support with my first experience, was fantastic.
You already had the business infrastructure in place that would support a new business.
Yes.
You already knew the players and the folks. In talking to the small, or small business owner, entrepreneur who's looking at Texas, kind of explain, we talked a little bit about the people and the culture, but what is it about Kilgore beyond just all right, we're on I-20 and we have this logistics system and we're easy to get to, anywhere. Really it's crazy how many global products are produced here and go around the world. So logistically, obviously you're in a great spot, but what's the culture side that sort of they're going to find here? What is it that you would offer them as advice when they're looking at a place to come?
Yeah, I will answer the question with one story.
Okay.
Now, when I was living between Venezuela and Manhattan and Kilgore, traveling.
Those are three different places.
Used to be in a hotel named Best Western that now doesn't exist, and next to where Walmart is located.
Right.
And I was staying in that hotel almost 6 months, very frequently. And I was rushing from New York to buy some batteries. I went to a deli, and I was looking for the battery, and then the person, "What's up? What do you need?" Everybody fast and very kind of people read that as a rude. That is a rude people. People is very busy there. No time for us.
That's direct.
Just right. I just went, pick up that, boom, not left. And I arrived here tired, and I didn't have time to eat in Dallas. When I found Schlossky was the only place open, a small Schlossky that was here. And I arrived there, and I ordered a sandwich. I don't want soda, just water. I asked the lady, if they have coffee, and I say, "Oh, we don't serve coffee here. It's okay." No, and I went, and they said, "I can make one for you, she say. And I went sit down, and she prepared coffee for me. And she was very welcoming, and I drink my coffee and all that.
Right.
And that was it. You can see how the culture shock, how welcoming the people. And
Yeah.
the next day, typical, went to visit some places, and they went to buy some things in the supermarket. And you see everybody smiling at you,
Yeah.
and so welcoming. And I introduced myself some people that I was trying to immediately be nice with me. And that is hard to explain. You had to leave it.
Yeah.
And when you ask questions to them, to the people, how these things work here, and how about the school and the kids, the people were very real answers, and that was just, I'm just a simple man, that is what I'm looking for. That was very, very important for me,
Right.
and for the people that I was part of my team.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's, I love that story because that is, again, it's hard to put on paper. You can't put that on a brochure. It's hard to kind of put that on a thing. And I always tell folks, you have to come and visit, right? Like, don't just discount something because you think it's, it's out in East Texas where I don't know where that is. I'm like, just come visit. You'll see. Just experience. And I had a lady from New York had the same experience in the store where she was in line. It was very busy. She was like 3 or 4 people, and there was only one checkout, and they brought somebody else to start opening the line. And she got a tap from somebody behind her.
Yeah.
And she turned around, and he's like, "Ma'am, the line is open. It's, you should go." And she said in New York they would have like trampled me, right? Like they would have run over me if I didn't see it and they saw it. And she's like, "I made that decision. That's where we're gonna be."
Yeah.
So it's a great
and let me
story.
share one more. If you, I one day in the hotel, Bill Wilson was the owner of the Chevy dealership. He went to my hotel and knocked the door, and I was early in the morning. I said, "Hey, Bill, come with me to my office." It was right in front. I went there. I said, "You're renting car every single week. You need a car, And he said, "Yes, I need a car." And I said, "Pick any car you want. Let's make a business. There's a business." I didn't have any checking account yet. No, my business have account, but I didn't have any checking account.
Yeah.
And in the city and all that, I like a car. He said it was the ugliest car there. Do you remember the Aztec? I like the Aztec, and nobody liked the Aztec. I think he was pushing to sell me the car that he cannot sell in a lot. But anyway, he said, "It's all yours." He called the president of the bank. The bank came at that time. It was Robert Strong and Rios Bank came. Shook my hands, and I signed some paper there, and I have a car. Then we formalize everything, during that month.
Right.
Yeah, that happened to me here in Kilgore.
That is awesome. That's a great story. That's a pretty good dealer. That is awesome. So let's talk a little bit about your kids. You've raised kids here now. Are they still in school? Where are they now? Or tell us a little bit about that journey and what that was like.
We were they were very much involved in all this, growing here between Kilgore and Longview, Texas, and they, my wife and I, very family oriented, and we met a similar type of people, and they have a beautiful childhood, and a beautiful youth. They enjoy very much from kindergarten to 12th grade.
Right.
When they graduated, my daughter graduated as a graphic design. Then she went overseas, studied industrial design and software masters, and now she's in Austin.
Okay.
And she worked in a software company. She's very successful there.
Okay.
And my son graduated in marketing, and he went to Chicago. Then to Miami, came back to East Texas. And now he live and he's married, live in Miami.
Okay.
Working in, yeah.
All right. So when you think back through, you've seen Kilgore change so much in 25 years, but when you think about the future, what excites you most about what you're seeing here in Kilgore today?
Well, there are so many opportunities, and sometimes I want to go back and have 25, 30 years ago again, because this is the way that I see it,
Right.
and I see a lot of young people, my kids are some of them that look for the opportunities and they don't want to experience the big city,
Yeah.
Many of my friends that have older kids, you can see kids coming back to the area, and but there are incredible opportunities. Kilgore is surrounded of many important business, and there are a lot of opportunities to become a B2B business of very important companies. And there are land available, there are incentives available. I see a tremendous growth in this area in the future. Of course, you need to be prepared for that challenge.
Yeah.
In my time, if you don't, in 2000, if you decided, oh, I don't want to learn anything about internet, I don't want to have a website, you were dead.
Yeah.
Because the business changed rapidly between 1999 and 2003.
Yeah.
And e-commerce started and everything.
Yeah.
Now we have the same challenges, but in different perspective, with automation,
Yeah.
with artificial intelligence. And I think if young people, entrepreneurs can prepare, and I always say, I read that from Jensen, the NVIDIA CEO, AI is not going to take the job from you. Somebody that knows AI take the job from you. And he's just saying the opportunities exist, with the new tools that we have and such a great companies all around the area. You can start something that can serve these companies or design a new product. For people that is considering to bring the business here, is the same advice. There are so many entities that trying to support you. The community is so open to be part of your business that that will make a difference.
That's such great advice. I can say people are so surprised when we say that. They think, yeah, whatever. You're just trying to get me there. But when they show up and they have experiences like you have, where someone notices, hey, you've got this challenge that you seem to be having over and over again. Let me help you some way. Yeah. That is what you can expect and find here. So thank you for sharing that. One last question before we let you go. If you wanted to tell someone to grab lunch or dinner, where are you going to take them? Where's your spot? I know that might be a tough challenge, but
yeah, no, it's and I am, if I want to grab a sandwich, or something like that, I love to go to Downtown Delight, or soup. If I want to eat more, elaborated food, I go to Jack Ryan's.
Okay.
Eat a pizza. I go to St. Kitchen. Depends.
Okay.
There are auctions here in Kilgore, that, family owned, that people welcome when you get there, and the food is very good.
I've experienced that everywhere I've walked in. I was telling Lisa earlier, it's kind of like, when you walk into Buc-ee's, everybody yells at you like, hey, welcome to Buc-ee's. But I've been everywhere I've gone. It's been, hey, welcome in. And they're like so excited to see me. It's almost a little surprising. So it's awesome. Well, Ricardo, thank you so much. It's congratulations on your success, and thank you for what you do in the world and for here and supporting Kilgore. I know it means a lot to the KDC, and they're happy to have you in the community, and really appreciate just the entrepreneurial journey. I know it's not an easy one, and so anybody that's willing to take that leap and journey, I think it's important because it matters. And so just appreciate you doing that, and thank you for sharing your story today.
Oh, my pleasure. My pleasure. Anytime. Thank you for the time.
All right, folks, thanks for joining us. Learn more about Kilgore and by watching the full series at gonetotexaspodcast.com/Kilgore. And as always, thanks again for listening to us here on the Gone to Texas podcast. Please like, share, and subscribe so more business owners can discover what's possible in the Lone Star State. If you're tired of red tape, high cost, and feeling stuck where you are, this is the invitation you've been waiting for. come to Texas. The Texas Economic Development Connection exists to help you skip the runaround and connect directly with the people and places ready to help your business grow, like folks here at the Kilgore Economic Development Corporation. Because when you find the right spot in Texas, your business wins, your people, your future, and your freedom win too. Visit TexasEDCConnection.com to schedule your free call. I'm your host, Super Dave Quinn, saying bye for now, and until next time, make it a great day.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Gone to Texas, the official podcast of the Texas Economic Development Connection, powered by Day One Experts, a collection of the country's best-known economic development professionals offering on-demand services to communities across the nation.